Days passed, and Shalewa, still grieving, would lock herself in her room and only come downstairs during dinner time. Obinna noticed this and tried to make Shalewa as comfortable as possible. He would take time off work to spend with her, and soon enough, when Shalewa warmed up to him, they would go to some exciting places in town so that she could familiarize herself with the environment and take her mind off things. Everyone in the house started to notice how quickly Shalewa and Obinna became friends, as she was so comfortable with him. Chinedu started to notice how much time Obinna was freeing up just to spend with Shalewa, which made him uncomfortable. But he played it cool because he did not want to reignite old drama that happened between him and Obinna about a year ago, which made their already damaged relationship even worse. He had tried his best to avoid Shalewa, but anytime he saw her in the corners of the house, he would not stop staring and thinking about her. Meanwhile, the more time Obinna spent with Shalewa, the more his feelings for her deepened, and Shalewa started to feel safe with him. She started to feel like herself again. Obinna couldn't take any more time off work, as he had already exhausted his leave period to help Shalewa get back on her feet, leaving room for Chinedu, who had been seen moving around the house just to catch a glimpse of Shalewa and her smile. Shalewa started to notice Chinedu more often, and would have conversations with him, as he made funny jokes that made her laugh. Whenever Shalewa was with Chinedu, she would laugh a lot, as he was very good at telling funny stories. Chinedu, who often went partying and could be absent from home for days, started to stay at home more often so that he and Shalewa could bump into each other and have quick and exciting conversations. This started to make him develop feelings for her. But the thought of him and Obinna having another fight over a girl started to make him think of keeping his distance away from Shalewa. But no matter how hard he tried, thoughts of Shalewa occupied his mind. Whenever Obinna was at home, he would make sure he spent almost a full day with Shalewa, either watching TV or taking her out to see exciting places. They grew closer, and Obinna was happy about this. I have not been seeing Chinedu for some days now, Shalewa said, while on her way out with Obinna. Obinna frowned and looked at her. Why are you asking about him? Well, I am sure he had gone partying as usual, Obinna answered. Shalewa had started to get used to Chinedu being around, so when he started going out again, she thought he had gotten bored of them hanging out at home. She had heard many times from Obinna how Chinedu was a carefree person, how he would go partying and womanize, but she thought Obinna was exaggerating because he and his brother were not on good terms. She knew she had a strange likeness for Chinedu, but she convinced herself it was not good for her. Obinna seemed like the more responsible one. After all, he took her on dates and made time for her, so why would she want to throw that away? But still, she couldn't stop thinking of Chinedu and the times they had spent together indoors, talking and laughing. She wished he was around regardless. Obinna was upset that Shalewa had begun to hang out with Chinedu, even to the point of showing concern for his whereabouts. He was just starting to gain trust and liking from Shalewa, and Chinedu, who was used to getting girls flirting with him and even collecting people's girlfriends, was beginning to make it hard for him again. And all he could think of was how to make Shalewa see Chinedu for who he really is, a womanizer. Hoping that when she sees him for his true self, she would realize that he is nothing to write home about. One evening, during dinner, Shalewa noticed Chinedu was present. He was eating quietly when she asked, "Chinedu, why are you not always around?" Immediately, Obinna saw an opportunity and answered quickly, jumping from one woman to the other now, that is his normal way. Immediately Chinedu heard this, he got really angry, left his meal and went to his room. Shalewa looked at Obinna and shook her head, blaming herself for starting the drama, wondering why Obinna liked to speak less of Chinedu and why the brothers even disliked each other so much. Later that evening, Shalewa felt bad that she had started the conversation that led to Chinedu abandoning his meal. So, she decided to make amends. She took some leftover food from dinner up to his room. She knocked on his door, and surprisingly, it was opened. She pushed it and entered. There, she saw Chinedu, who had just gotten out of the bathroom, with a towel tied around his waist. His upper body was bare, and his abs were well defined. "Shalewa, what are you doing here?" Chinedu asked confused. Shalewa, who was still filling her eyes with his body, did not hear Chinedu's question clearly. This was her first time seeing him shirtless, so she was shocked and was taking it all in. As she coordinated herself to ask what he said, in the corner of the room, a tiny female voice interrupted. Hi, Shalewa. Immediately, Shalewa turned to see who spoke. There, on Chinedu's bed, a beautiful young lady sat. Hello. Shalewa, who was already disappointed, immediately responded. She turned to Chinedu. Well, I see you have company. Only brought you some food because you did not finish your meal. Chinedu, surprised, took the food from her and thanked her and wanted to explain who Chinelo is. Shalewa turned around with a frown on her face and walked out of the room. Meanwhile, Obina was looking for her. Are you just coming out of Chinedu's room? He asked, wondering why she was in there. Well, I went to apologize for what happened this evening, and also to give him some food since he did not finish his meal due to what you said, Shalewa explained. She noticed Obina frowning, so she immediately added, It's not like I stayed in there for a while. And besides, he has a guest in his room. Do you know who she is? Obina looked at her, surprised why she was even bothered, not knowing if to continue frowning or laugh, as he was excited that Shalewa had come to find out for herself what he had been talking about. But his mood changed because of the person in question. Well, that is Chinelo. She and Chinedu have been a thing for a while now. It's off and off with them, Obina responded. Besides, you can't act surprised. I told you he's a playboy. Now you can see for yourself, Obina said as he walked away from her, frowning at her show of concern. Shalewa went to her room, wondering why she felt upset that Chinedu had someone in his room. But she reminded herself she does not know who he is, and maybe Obina was right all along. After all, Obina seemed to care more about her, and she felt safe with him. And as she was about to go to bed, she remembered she had the leftover bottle of wine in her fridge. She poured some into a glass and started to drink from it, hoping that it would make her fall asleep fast, since she was thinking too much about two brothers. She was almost done with the bottle of wine when she heard a knock and Obina entered. He knew she was not happy with him after their conversation in the hallway, so he came to check up on her. But he noticed that she had been drinking and was already tipsy. She smiled at him, and he immediately took the wine away from her and gave her a cup of water instead. He stayed with her for a bit and asked her to get some sleep, as they had a family event the next day. As he was about to leave, she asked him again who Chinelo really was, as she noticed the look of sadness on his face the first time she asked. Obina told her to get some sleep, that they would discuss the next day. And as he stood up to leave the room, she held him back, moved closer to him, and reached to kiss him. Had Shalewa made up her mind to be with Obina? Or was she just upset that Chinedu had someone in his room? Please like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell, so when I post the next episode, you'll be among the first to watch. Thank you and remain blessed.